gotta do the intro. Intro music. Woohoo! All right. Welcome to Ask Dad, a dad show that's not just for dads, but everyone that wants fatherly advice from a real dad. Whether you're here for the bad dad joke or to gain some insight, Will Snow is the man, the myth, and the legend in his own mind, of course. And he knows all things. So please welcome to today's episode of Ask Dad. Should I do applause? Yeah. Oops, I should turn the volume up there. Yeah, woo, woo, everybody loves you, yay.
I feel so good about that. It's all for the adulation, right?
It is. I have a dad joke. Just give me a second to find it.
Okay, I'm
All
excited.
All right. Did you know that my mother always used to say, although since this is an Ask Dad thing, I should say, my father always used to say, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. He was a lovely, lovely person. He was just a terrible surgeon.
There you go.
And there you go. And wow.
I have to ask the question, why do dads feel the need to tell bad jokes, really?
I think it's a moral imperative. My dad still to this day will just sit there and think of bad dad jokes to send me. And I love it. It makes me so happy.
Well, yeah, it does. It puts a smile on your face. But, I've just come to the conclusion that they just want to help you become a grown-up.
Yeah.
Grown.
Oh, Jesus. I just can't. That one is really just, hold on. Oh, God. So anyway, what would you like to talk about today?
Whoa, well, it's been a really interesting week, and I've had a few thoughts with respect to some of the things I've been, reading and hearing about. And, actually, it was really interesting. I actually saw a few articles this week about things that people remember from their childhood, from different experiences that they've had with people in authority, etc., that have really were very, very negative and had profound long-term influence on them. And so I was thinking about this a lot. And, I've experienced certain things like this myself. I think we all have, where where you're in a position where someone's in authority and they're saying someone whose opinion you theoretically should respect, and they're very diminishing, very demeaning, degrading to you as an individual, and you really take that to heart. And I've been giving that a lot of thought, and I just have to come out and say that, look, if we go back to the basic premise that we were talking about before, is what we are as human beings. What are we really here to do? What are we all about? And, and I mentioned that in my humble opinion, we are really eternal energy that is encased in this human existence that we have. And really, because of that, I have to say that eternal energy has an infinite capacity to create, to astonish, to amaze, and truly nobody, and I don't care who they are, has any authority to diminish, degrade, or, demean that human energy. So I would put this out there to any of our listeners. And by the way, thank you all for listening.
Yes, thank you, listeners.
And we do actually, read all of our emails, and, you're absolutely welcome to subscribe if you'd like. We certainly appreciate that as well. But I want to say this to every one of our listeners, that if anybody who diminishes, demeans, degrades your energy, your creative energy, and who you are as a human being is not worthy of your respect, your admiration, your attention, or your energy, That is absolutely the case. And I don't care what the power distance is between you and that other individual. Nobody has that authority. And that power is something that you're giving them. Do not give individuals that power. I think we've seen enough instances of this in life, and it's a good piece of advice, and it's something I feel very, very strongly about, because honestly, this is just something that I think diminishes us as a society, and I don't think that there's any call for it at all. So that's my big message for today.
Well, that's actually a great message, because it kind of leads into one of our questions from one of our listeners. So if you're ready for a question, we can go ahead with
Absolutely. I'd be happy to take it.
All right. So this question comes from Jaden in New York. Jaden says, I earned a degree from a great college, and I work in a company where every male at my experience level earns at least 15% more than I do. So how can I ask for my salary to be increased without potentially losing my job? And I think that kind of speaks to what you're talking about with people and their power, and it's. I think this is a great question. So thank you for reaching out, Jaden.
Well, Jaden, this is a really very good question, and certainly an issue that I have been dealing with, and the women in my life have been dealing with for forever. And it is an unfortunate circumstance that in many companies there is an inherent disrespect and diminishment of women in the workplace that are doing the exact same work that their male counterparts are. And the thing about it is, you're absolutely correct in pointing out the fact that you have this challenge, and the reality of it is there's only really one way to deal with that, and that is if you feel that you're being undervalued at work, and you have to ask for the thing that you're looking for. If you feel that your salary is not, and that your salary is less than a counterpart who is doing similar work, you have the absolute right to request that. But the way you request it is important too. Going out and accusing an organization or accusing a manager or of being, of sexual discrimination based on pay is something that is not necessarily the best idea, because it can lead to all kinds of, challenges in your day-to-day work. But what I would suggest is simply identifying the things that you're doing, try to, evaluate the actual impact that you're bringing to the organization, the value that you're bringing to the organization, and the good things that you're bringing, and request what it is that you want to earn, or you feel that you should be earning, as it relates to the job that you're doing. And that is all one can ever do, is just to simply ask for that. If the response is negative, and then you are really left with the question of, is that the kind of place that you actually want to work? Is this what you want to do? Is this the place that you want to do it? Or will there be other opportunities for you elsewhere? And, so in reality, I think that this is, just an enormously challenging situation, but you have to, I think, bring it back to the value that you're bringing, the things that the impact that you're delivering, that is unequivocal. And that is usually a powerful enough argument to get you to what you want.
So how would you, in Jaden's case specifically, how would you outline that? Like, what order should you put together all of the information, and how would you kind of introduce that to the players that would be kind of in control of that salary? Would it be first reaching out to your direct manager? Would it be going to HR? Like how would you go through that?
What order of activity would I take? Well, the first thing that I would be doing is not necessarily comparing the value that you bring versus the value that somebody else brings, because everybody brings something. They might be doing something that you're totally unaware of. They might be involved in certain activities that you're totally unaware of. What I would do is I would suggest that you have data in hand that presents, hey, this is the range of salaries that is available for this position, which is usually available in your human resources database there. Mm-hmm. For various positions and various organizations, they will have a salary range. And wherever you're at, I might suggest maybe outline over the course of the last 3 to 6 months, the major contributions you've made, either, in directly increasing the organization's revenue, or, saving costs for the organization, or some of the things you've done intrinsically for the organization in terms of team building, or, training, or creating materials that the organization's been able to use. Just bullet that out, put together a list of the things that you've done, and then equate a value to that. And so this is the impact that I've delivered. This is where I feel my salary should be. And I would suggest first having a meeting with your direct supervisor, because they will theoretically have the closest understanding of your day-to-day contributions. So they should be able to validate what you're saying. And then, sometimes pay increases obviously are, they're done on an annual basis, but not always. And, sometimes you can ask, if you feel that the difference is so significant that you might want request an immediate bump or bonus to make up that gap. But my thought here again is always, you have to kind of evaluate it. You have to bring some data to the discussion, and not simply hey, he's making this, I'm making that, we do the same job, so therefore I'm being underpaid. There has to be some sort of backup there. Then I guess if you're, if during your review process and your salary increase, when salaries are being discussed, if there's no action in that situation, then it might be worth bumping up, and going above your management and into your next managerial level, or potentially bring in human resources. But again, that's the approach that I would take. Now, that doesn't guarantee you're going to get what you want, but I will say this, that if you don't ask and you don't provide some, backup to your request, you're probably not going to get what you're looking for. You're generally in the work world, you have to define your position, define the value that you're bringing, and you have to ask for it. If it doesn't show up, that's telling you something as well. And that may be telling you something about the organization, might be telling you something about the industry in general. But, there are always different opportunities out there as well, even in negative employment kinds of situations. There are always opportunities that will avail themselves. You just have to kind of open yourself up to it and take your shots.
Absolutely. And especially one thing that she said that stood out was about her fear of potentially losing her job for asking.
Well, yeah, and that
speaks to a whole different.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue.
No, I was just, so if there is that fear of potentially losing your job by asking for what you feel you deserve, is that something, like, I guess my question, I guess I don't know what my question is, but when you're in that situation that you're afraid, obviously there's a lack of trust.
Well, yeah, and that's true. And that lack of trust in an organization might very well be earned by the actions that an organization takes. And certainly I've experienced that as well. But I will say this, that the fear piece, you made a really good point here. See, that question, I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my job if I ask for what I feel that I deserve. When, in general, one makes decisions based out of fear, they're usually not good decisions, unless, of course, you have a lion chasing you that's going to eat you, in which case, survival is a very important thing.
Could I boop its nose? I love the noses, but continue. I'm sorry, that's neither here nor there.
Oh, well, no, and it speaks to your intrinsic lack of fear, which I'm always been very, very attracted to, just so you know. I think that confidence is attractive, and but I do think making decisions based out of fear, and not to say that there isn't a good reason to be concerned that, hey, if I lose this position, then I'm going to lose my income, then this happens, then that happens, in which case one has to be a little bit more strategic about it, and you have to, but you still have to ask for what you want. I mean, in any relationship, and that includes a professional relationship, if you're not asking for, what you want, you're not allowing yourself to make that request, then when you don't have it, then what happens is resentment builds.
It does.
And there's no upside to this. There really isn't. And I've experienced so many times when individuals were very resentful, they were very angry in their workplace environment. They never actually even asked the question. If they had asked the question, then perhaps it would have been given to them.
Situation.
So yeah. Theoretically, everybody should be on an equal pay grade, but that's just not the way it works.
Unfortunately.
Well, that's part of negotiation too, right? I mean, learning how to negotiate your needs, to have your needs met in life, is an important part of living.
That is true in many aspects, not just work, but like you said, all relationships.
But that stems from an interior confidence. I am delivering value. I am a valuable human being. I am worthy of asking this question. I am worthy to ask the universe for what I want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. So if you could, let's say, sum that up in a couple sentences, what would that be?
Well, I would suggest that if I were to sum it up in a couple sentences.
I know
that was a lot of talk there to sum up in a couple sentences. Okay.
Or a paragraph. How about a paragraph?
Okay. What I would suggest is, don't be afraid to ask for what you feel that you are worth. Use data to back up your position, but understand at the heart of all of this that you are worthy. And to all of our listeners out there, I want to let you know that regardless of where you come from, where you are currently, whoever you are, whatever way you choose to love, gender, skin color, ethnicity, religion, I do not care. You are worthy. You are eternal energy, housed in human flesh. And we are here to help one another to elevate. And you are absolutely worthy. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And I love you. So, wow. Thank you for that. And to all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Ask Dad, the show of fatherly advice for all with a smattering of bad dad jokes. The love is real and the man is real. So we will see you next time. And until then, please continue to send us your dad jokes as well as questions, and we can talk about it all. We can talk about the good, the bad, and the dad.